record button here, and then I'll share our screen. I'm going to go, is this anybody's first time joining us for a Sounds of Autism meeting? Wonderful. Well, welcome. So part of these meetings is that we do like to do kind of an overview about Sounds of Autism so that you're aware of, what to expect with these meetings. There's a few different meetings that are offered every month. And so each one has, some of their different things that they offer within that. So we'll kind of do that as an overview. And then we have a special guest speaker here today, Miss Heather Ramsden, who we're going to hear about her programming. And so at this point, let me just figure out and remember how to Zoom for just a moment and do a share screen wherever that went. Oh, it's the green one. There we go. That would make sense. The one that's pointing out. My bad, everybody. All right, let's share that. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, can everybody see? Is it in presentation mode?
Yes.
I always share the wrong one. Let's see.
If you right click on it, it'll give you the, there you go.
All right, now we're seeing the right stuff. Perfect. Thank you guys for bearing with me with that. I swear I'm gonna get better with that after a year and a half of Zooming, but I guess apparently it hasn't gotten better yet. Well, to introduce myself to those just joining us, my name is Jordan Peterson. I am not a Canadian psychologist, but I do work in the field of psychology. So if you've heard that name before, don't worry, you're not alone. And I am a satellite ambassador for Sounds of Autism, and I do our monthly Life on a Spectrum presentation. So I work for Aurora Behavioral Health System. I am the Director of Business Development. You can see the hospital, wrong side, the hospital behind me here. I promise I'm not outside. I'm just trying some Photoshop wizardry on you all, and appears to be working, I think. We'll see. But either way, so I have a lot of connection to autism and the field of autism, and I've specifically, or just the subject matter of autism, not the field. But I've worked in behavioral health for the better part of 10 years now in various capacities, and a lot of what my direct support work has been is working with children and families where children are diagnosed with autism and have really severe behavioral escalations, and to the point where sometimes there's even the need for things like hospitalization. So where I come into this is that actually Aurora, the hospital that I work for, we have the only inpatient hospitalization in the state of Arizona for kids diagnosed with autism and other developmental disabilities. And so it's not a thing that's for everybody. It's those that are in severe crisis. And so again, it's a resource that's there for those that are most in need of something like that. But that being said, I pride myself on being a resource to folks in the community to help answer a lot of questions about different levels of support. And so that's a lot of what this presentation monthly is about, is bringing in some trusted providers for families and really getting the knowledge out there for what kind of services are out there and what different things there can be to really help make sure that our community is aware of the resources that are in our own backyard. So with that, we will get into a presentation here shortly, but to continue for a quick moment, tell you a little bit more about Sounds of Autism. So who is Sounds of Autism? It is a 501c3 established in 2011 by Cricket Barrientos. The mission is to integrate families and children of autism back into society through love and support. Now, Cricket has been a huge, she has an incredible passion for bringing families together. And that's actually the first person that I was introduced to. When she first invited me to these meetings when they were in person, I got to not only connect with her, I connected with other, professionals across different providers and different, areas of the world. And so really, when we talk about our Life on the Spectrum presentation that we're going into today, it's not only finding resources that are, behavioral health or DDD type services necessarily. It's really getting connected with resources that are going to help families from, very stage 1 diagnosis to end of life planning. And so really it's bringing this community together. So in that, what you're seeing here, there's quite, since that founding 10 years ago, Cricket's been busy and has had a team of people supporting her mission in Sounds of Autism in developing several different programs. So if you've seen an email go out that talks about the different presentations that are happening over the course of the month, there are at least 4 presentations that usually occur on a monthly basis. There's the first week of the month, there's the Families on the Spectrum Unite, which is hosted by Sean Thompson. Life on the Spectrum, which is hosted by myself every second Tuesday of the month. We have a Responders Unite presentation, and we also host a Siblings on Board presentation every month. And then within that too, there's additional programmings, Sorry, guys, it's been a long day. My words are just not making sense today. I apologize. Thank you for bearing with me with my slip ups. But with that, we have other programs like Life Skills, which is virtual tool skill set things. We have Notes on the Spectrum, which is incorporating things like performing arts and media awareness platforms. So there's a lot of really great partnerships. There's a lot of larger corporations that support Sounds of Autism and the mission. And so really integrating within these different programs, I encourage you, if you're newer to finding out about Sounds of Autism, to really, join some of these meetings and get more involved and see what the different programs are like. But for the time being, we will talk about life on a spectrum. And so this is a great intro one. So if you're ever meeting somebody in the community and they say, I really don't know a whole lot about autism, I'd like to get more involved, this is a great meeting to go to because we do provide some overview information just regarding autism spectrum disorder. But again, it's also a great place to have quite a large little, resource hub here. And so within that, like I said, it's not just, programs that are meant for early intervention, for young children, for children under the age of 18. This really is for any individual and their family member from, the start of diagnosis to end of life planning. So really looking at everything that can be along the way. If you're in need of some kind of resource or have a question about something, reaching out to myself, reaching out to Bernadette, who's on the call, or Cricket, we'll have contact information at the end. There's a good chance that we can point you in the right direction for a really appropriate and vetted and trusted resource that's here within our community. So to continue on here a little bit, we learned really quickly that if you know what autism looks like for one person, then you probably know what it looks like for that person. As you guys may be aware or not, autism spectrum disorder is defined as a spectrum disorder because it is a very large spectrum, and you see different behaviors, characteristics, symptoms, and things like that that can vary so greatly from one person to another. And there's a lot of, terms that are used with it. There's level systems, there's verbal, nonverbal, there's high functioning, low functioning, and it can be a lot to weed through sometimes. And in all reality, there's even complexities within those, right? So not necessarily assigning high functioning to someone who has an ability to verbally speak. So really, when we think about this, I know we have the puzzle piece, and the puzzle piece has been something that's really been coming up here quite a bit. My understanding of the puzzle piece and how I've always known it and associated it, and this is something that I'm educating myself with, is that it really does help define with the idea that each puzzle piece is very individual and it's very unique. And the same way that somebody who is diagnosed with autism may experience autism in a way that is very uniquely their own. There's going to be certain factors and characteristics that may be similar to another person, but I mean it wholeheartedly when I say that if you know what autism looks like for one person, then you probably know what it looks like for that person. And so the importance of that is really making sure that we understand that each person is walking in a different set of shoes. And that's not just for folks with autism, it's for family members, it's for just our neighbors in our community, but it's really important to not make assumptions. Because with that, it's important to not assume, because sometimes even safety can be a risk factor. It can be a thing to consider. The safety of every person is different, and every situation is different. And so where someone might need support in one way, that same level of support could actually, trigger a situation to go further in another way. So if, for example, if you're out and about and you see that there's someone's really struggling, maybe they've become overwhelmed and there's a lot of sensory things happening or something along those lines, where I encourage you to be a person that offers support and see in what way can you be helpful to them. But just understand going in that that's going to look different than maybe what maybe works for someone or your family member. And so just trying to offer, is there a way that I can support you? And just asking an open-ended question like that, that's a great way that we can all work together and come together as a community. So within this, we have a kind of a thing. So we're talking about becoming responders to autism. So we do have a phrase for this. Expect to become, RUM, responders united to make a difference. And so there's a few ways that you can really help become a responder to autism. And sometimes it's just knowing some more simple awareness of things that can be happening. So what we call these things is, first is stop to see the signs, which we'll be going through next. It's having patience, it's having education, it's showing compassion, and it's having trust. And so we'll get into each one of these a little bit more as we move in here. But first and foremost, the signs of autism. There are a few telltale signs of autism that we know to be true. A big one is sensitivity to lights, sounds, touch, taste, that sensory processing piece of things. A lot of times we'll see things like difficulty with communication, or a person may be nonverbal. We'll also see things like repetitive movements, different behaviors. It can kind of look like a compulsive type of thing at a certain point, or even stimming behaviors, which could be auditory noises. It could be rocking. It could be anything that's kind of a self-soothing technique. In addition to that, difficulty in social situations. This might be the situation where somebody's out in a big public event, or, I picture at the ball game or at Disneyland, and it doesn't have to be, big extravagant things like that, but everything can become very overwhelming all at once with that when you bring in all of that stimuli. And in addition to that, when we especially talk about early intervention and early recognition of signs, sometimes you can spot some of the signs of autism at a very early age, even with things like seeing, categorization with lining up toys and different objects, color patterns with building blocks and things like that. So really, there are some ways to see and identify autism at a very, very young age. So getting into that, we want to talk about just the current statistics. So this, of course, is from 2020. We actually might need to update this here, but according to the CDC, 1 in 54 8-year-old children have been identified with autism, according to 2016 data. This is 10% higher than previous estimates from 2014, which was 1 in 59 among 8-year-olds. And it is seen significantly higher, more diagnosed among boys than young girls. There's a lot of trains of thought that can go into this. Me personally, my thought is that awareness has just continued to grow and grow and grow over the past 15 to 20 years. And so when we see a spike in autism diagnoses, to me, that just kind of makes some sense there, that the more knowledge we have of it, the more we're able to recognize some of these things. Now, I want to take a few moments. We're on our educate portion of what we're going to talk about here today. I want to welcome our guest speaker for the day, Ms. Heather Ramsden, who's going to be telling us about her program. And so, Heather, what can I do for you? Do you have a presentation to share? Can I move the screen share over to you? Oh.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I was muted and didn't realize it. It's been a long day for me as well. And I've been in so many meetings. I forgot the mute button.
Oh, you're good.
I'm sharing. All right, let's see.
Okay, so do you have a presentation to pull up?
I do, yes.
Okay, let me go ahead and make sure that you have everything you need for that. Okay, and you should be able to share now.
Wonderful. Yes, I sure can. Let's see here. All right, everyone, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I just want to start by saying it's a pleasure to be here with you all. I met Jordan 2 weekends ago at the 5th Annual Arizona Autism Expo. I met so many wonderful families, and it was just a pleasure to meet him and have him invite me to guest speak on behalf of Positive Behavior Supports Corporation and the services that we provide. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and get started. I just want to give you a little background on myself. I think that will probably help. So I am actually a board certified behavior analyst and have been working with families for several years now, treating autism. It has been a wonderful experience for me. I am now in the role of regional coordinator. So I supervise and manage the entire state of services here in the Valley. And what I love about that is the ability to reach families that are in need of our services and maybe just haven't, learned of ABA. So that's what I love doing. I love reaching the families. I connect you with my staff and we make the magic happen. So we at PBS are in 20 other states. We service over 10,000 families, and we expanded to the state of Arizona in the new year because we recognized that there was a need for our particular service model. So we're very happy to be here, and I'm even happier to share that I am onboarding several families currently, and I have several more that we're working on getting services for. Alrighty, so I wanted to start by sharing our PBS mission. So Dr. Nolan, our CEO and founder in 2007, started PBS, and it's very deeply rooted in life enrichment. That's what I absolutely love about our company. We see the mission to create meaningful and socially significant improvements in quality of life outcomes for those who we serve. We have a twofold vision, and that is we improve behavior, which therefore improves the family unit as a whole. How do we do this? What we are deeply rooted in is quality of life, right? So we really believe that we can create that for our individuals that we service through identifying and strengthening their deficits in the domains of health and safety, self-advocacy, social relationships, productive activity, and community participation. So we see those being quality of life domains that are often tied to the deficits of autism in a way that they experience deficits that we can then strengthen for them. So a typical meeting with us at intake would look like us asking you a variety of questions pertaining to those domains so that we can identify treatment goals that are really going to target quality of life for your loved one. So we do a lot with quality of life, and we see wonderful outcomes. So we develop treatment goals surrounding, for example, social relationships. We have long-term goals that we create, and within that, we have intermediate and short-term goals so that we can get your loved one to where you want them to be and where they want to be in life. It's all about that quality of life and that self-sufficiency and that independence. So our priorities are your priorities. Our families come first at PBS. I think that's what sets us apart from more traditional looking ABA, because we sit down and have that conversation with you and with your loved one of what do you want to see? What are your priorities? If they are of the age where we can have that conversation with them and they can tell us what they want, it's absolutely wonderful because we can work with them and with you to make that happen. So what's important to you is important to us. Please stop me if you have any questions at all. I'd be very happy to answer. So who we service at PBS, individuals of all ages, and I'm often asked the question of, does the individual have to present with a developmental disability? To which I answer, no, absolutely not. If there are interfering behaviors, we can provide that behavior modification support. Of course, those behavioral challenges are kind of our expertise. We work on reducing those to allow space for skills to be learned and quality of life to come through. We really do like to target socially significant skills. And those are simply just skills that we need to be successful every day in life. We have private pay options at the company for families who are looking to go that route due to restrictions or barriers with insurance funding, but we are in network with mostly all of the major Arizona insurance providers, which is wonderful too. And again, our goal at PBS is to provide the client with the skills to be successful in life and to fade our support so that they can gain that independence. If we're working with our families on supporting with challenging behaviors, the same applies. We want to provide you with the tools to be able to support their success so that you don't need us, but you are successful on a day-to-day basis. So when our children age out of services, which I will say another question I get is, to what age do we provide services? We will provide services to all ages. The only restrictions that we sometimes experience is if your insurance provider says, oh, we're going to stop it or age cap it at age 25. That's a barrier for us. But what we do with you then is we work on identifying the next best service in the community for your loved one. But ideally, if we're providing services at the younger age, the adolescent age, the teenager, and the early adult age, we are giving you the skills to be successful. So by the time that they are adults, we should have provided your family with the skills to succeed in the day-to-day environment. How we service applied behavior analysis. So this is essentially a therapy based on the science of learning and behavior. I always tell people we don't fix autism, we help to fix. So ABA in itself is designed to increase helpful behaviors and decrease harmful behaviors. So that is simply what we do. The ultimate goal is to establish and enhance those socially important behaviors, which are communication, safety awareness, social skills, and daily living independence, all the things we need to have in our toolbox to be successful every day. We eliminate those barriers to learning, which might present as those challenging behaviors, and that allows us to create space for learning of essential skills. This I made, and it's my favorite way to explain to my families the experience of autism. So there are deficits that they experience, which are directly related to behavioral excesses. So what we do is we address those deficits by strengthening them. A few examples here could be cognition, communication, or socialization. We come in, we identify where we can fulfill those deficits, which then becomes behavior reduction because we are giving them more appropriate ways to interact. So some of those behavioral excesses might look like tantrum episodes, physical aggression, self-injury, a whole host of behaviors, but we're the experts in identifying how we can teach them to alternatively communicate. So by using these principles, we are reducing maladaptive behaviors. And I also like to always tell families, because sometimes even my staff will forget that they aren't giving you a hard time, your loved ones. They're having a hard time. So it's up to us to learn how and why and to support that so that we can create success for them. Another breakdown I like to use to describe what we do is with our treatment, we essentially bridge the gap between chronological age, which is the age by number, and the developmental age, so the cognition. So your loved one might be a certain age and functioning just a few years behind that chronological age. So we're going to, again, identify where those deficits lie, where are some splinter skills, where can we support them in getting to that age as close as absolutely possible. And again, with the ultimate goal of, they're not going to be like anyone else, but what we want for them is independence and quality of life and self-sufficiency. So we provide that training and support and enhanced skills to promote independence in a whole host of domains, such as attending, imitation, fine and gross motor, language and conversation, functional play, self-help, communication, independent living skills, leisure skills. Overall, is to increase that quality of life because that creates that life enrichment. So, which then allows your loved one to access education, access friendships, access family, employment, leisure activities, everything that makes them happy and makes them thrive. Again, which will end up improving your family unit as a whole. So we have behavior analysts that will come in and work with your family in addition to therapists that will work one-on-one with your loved one. So the board certified behavior analyst is a fancy term for saying this is an individual who's highly skilled at understanding, number one, how behavior works, number two, how it is affected by the environment, and number three, how learning takes place. So positive reinforcement is absolutely rooted in all that we do. To increase those desired behaviors, we really lean on that. So when a behavior is followed by a desirable consequence, it will occur in future frequency. So we teach you how to really absorb that concept and use it day to day to day to support your loved one. So first, the therapist identifies a goal behavior, which is going to surround those deficits that I spoke about that relate to those quality of life domains. And each time the child uses a behavior or skill successfully, they get a reward, right? That's positive reinforcement component. If it's meaningful, that behavior will increase in future frequency. So we use this, and it's rooted in all that we do to encourage children to continue using appropriate skills, which over time leads to that meaningful behavior change. Which I'm looking now and see that I spelled child wrong. So I'm just laughing. It must have been a busy day that I was typing this up. So anyhow, our PBS theory.
That's my new favorite way to say it. So
yeah, our PBS theory, we believe that well, we're really rooted in using evidence-based best practices, right? So practices with known effectiveness. Our interventions are absolutely adapted to meet the needs of each unique child, adolescent, adult. The goal is to target those skills that will help them become more independent and successful in the short term, as well as in the future. Parents, family members, and caregivers receive training through us so that they can support their loved one in learning and practicing skills throughout the day. And then these individuals have a variety of opportunities to learn and practice the skills. They happen in both planned and naturally occurring situations. For example, learning how to greet others by saying hello, you might get the opportunity to practice it in the classroom, in the home setting, in the community, and that's what we want. We want to give them the opportunity to gain gain positive reinforcement for using these appropriate skills, engaging in these appropriate behaviors to therefore increase and create meaningful behavior change, which ultimately allows them that quality of life. And also at PBS, we provide services wherever there's a need. So if it's home, we'll be there with you. If it's home and community, because making doctor's visits is a little difficult, we'll be there with you as well to support, to give you the tools to foster that success, to help your loved one with that experience. If the need is school, as long as they will allow us, we will be there as well. So we are rooted in the approach that we want to catch the behavior so we can modify it in its most natural form. And being with you across all environments allows us to do that. So really, again, it's all about helping you, the parent, helping your loved one, working with the family unit as a whole to then increase all of those skills that are needed for that quality of life. Our service model, I kind of just went
Quick
through
question
it.
for you really quick.
Yes, Jordan, go for it.
Sorry, Bernadette, I think she actually sent it to me. But it said, what about school? And so I was curious because I know that there's different like in-home and community sports. Do you guys have a lot of success as far as going into the school environment with people, or do you guys run into times where like the school maybe has rules with that, or is there any way you can speak about that a little bit?
Absolutely, that's excellent. It entirely depends. I will say here in Arizona, since we started the first of the year, I haven't come across that just yet. But in our multiple other states, Florida, for example, we have big contracts with schools. They love to have us in. So it does depend to be kind of state specific, but if there's a need, we're going to advocate for it. If your child needs a support and a paraprofessional is not able to fulfill the level of training needed to support your child, I will come in myself and I will advocate on behalf of the need. So we do absolutely everything we can. If they have us, we love it.
Wonderful. No, that's
Yeah.
great.
No.
And a lot of schools, I think, are jumping on board for that
Yeah.
support and coordination. And it's been a few years since I did the direct home type stuff, but I remember there were certain districts even that, you know, if they had a program in place, they were maybe more hesitant, but others were like, come on in. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing more flexibility in terms of accepting what ABA is and just kind of understanding that there's a need for our level of support and there's a benefit to it too, because we can really do a lot of good coaching and training for the teachers that then ultimately allows us to start to fade out so that the student can have success without that one-to-one support. So that's a wonderful question. Quite honestly, I'm wondering how it will go kind of when I experience my first request for school intervention. So I will have to keep everyone here posted on that. I know that it will be coming soon, and I know that we have a lot of virtual learning occurring right now with the students. I've had several requests from families like, my son or daughter is really struggling with this, which I absolutely understand. I can't even imagine how amplified and enhanced it is for a learner with autism to be sitting there on the computer several hours a day. So I have had success just allowing my providers to be in the home and support with that during the day. So that's been, you know, a blessing in its own. But when we go back to full term being on campus, I'm hoping that everyone will be open. We've certainly seen a shift throughout the past year and the need for these levels of support and social emotional support as well.
Heather, this is Bernadette. I have a quick question for you on that same note. Yes, and
Yeah.
Jordan, I was the one that said, what about school?
Yes.
So I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say that you will also go in and you train the instructors, the teachers, how to support the child better? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, so if I were to send an RBT, and yes, we would have that RBT spend some time with the teacher to teach him how to support the student so that we can ultimately fade our involvement. Yes.
I like that because I think
Yeah.
that to me as a mom, not just in my profession, but to me as a mom, I think that's critical. I think that
Yes.
so many in fact, I think teachers need to be dual certified because I feel not because they're going to teach special needs, but because they need to be aware. Because I believe if they were dual certified, they would be better to able recognize a child that needs support instead of chalking it up to defiance or chalking it up to they just don't, they just don't want to do their work because that's what I'm dealing with right now. And so I'll talk to you a little bit more about that after, but I love that you guys go in and will teach the instructor to support the child better because it really is needed across the board, in my opinion. So thank you for what you do.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a big part of our in-home model too, is the parent engagement and buy-in. Even if I have aside from my behavior analyst, if I just have an RBT working one-on-one with a client, they're also teaching the parents as they're doing, right? Because it is our ultimate priority for the parents to feel comfortable and have success with supporting on that level so that we're not needed forever, because that's not quality if you need us to go everywhere with you. But if you have the tools over time, rock on, right? So we try to bring that into the schools too. And it's been a long time coming, but I think little by little, being able to kind of make that impact has been wonderful. So yeah, it's one thing I'm trying to do here in Arizona is I have reached out to many districts and said, hey, you know what, I will do professional development training for free, whatever it takes. I just want the teachers to have the skills, just the basic, behavior principle skills to be able to support in the classroom. Because what ends up happening with them is it's like a burnout because they don't know what to do. So then you start to get those responses from them, and it's not fostering success for anybody. So anyhow, yeah, so our service model is built around having that supervising BCPA, which I'm sure most of you have had experience with, or at least have come into contact with at some degree. And that person kind of supervises and coaches the direct therapist that works with your loved one, and together creates, this treatment package with yourself, with the RBT who does the direct teaching. And we kind of just make the magic happen in terms of gaining those skills that your loved one needs and teaching you how to support as well. And just in case anyone was wondering, because I do field a lot of questions about, so who in Arizona is PBS in network with? Here is my list. We've been fortunate to be able to reach so many families, and I'm advocating every day for, those other families that I'm not able to reach. But I will send this off with Jordan should anybody be interested in looking at it, and my contact information is here as well. So if you know anyone who's in need, if you're in need, I do free phone consultations for families all of the time. I've been supporting several families brand new to this experience. What do I do? It's so overwhelming. I would say that that's a lot of what I was talking about at the Arizona Autism Expo, was families were coming and saying, I'm just overwhelmed. I'm grabbing all these cards. Like, I don't even know too much about this. So I kind of took out this little handout I had and gave them the breakdown of what this is going to look like for you and what outcomes are going to come of it for your loved one. And I had so many people going, oh, thank you so much. That was easy to understand. Like, if it's easy to understand and grasp, then you get it. But, again, it's a lot. So I offer families the support by phone. And if I'm able to provide them with the services, we start right away. That is all I have for you. Thank you so much. I'm going to give you back the screen, Jordan, but I will send this over. So if anyone wants it, please feel free to request it.
Wonderful. Well, before we move on in the presentation, first off, thank you. Round of applause.
My pleasure,
for
guys.
you. Does anyone have any questions for Heather about the program, anything like that? While you've got her here right now.
I want to ask one more question, just going back to school. So what do you say to those schools that, because schools all have, a school psychologist. They also have their ESS case managers for each student or a group of students or grades. So what do you say to those schools that already have, and all of them have it really, that have this in place? How do you approach them? Because you said you're going to the districts trying to help, providing or offering rather professional development.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So I would say I have had mostly conversations with teachers. I've been connected with so many teachers in the community. So my conversations have been more along those lines, but I do intend to start to try to reach the higher ups on the level of, can we come in as a company and kind of support everyone on a school-wide level of teaching this positive behavior intervention support piece, where it's focused on prevention, not punishment. And I do know that in our other regions, there's a high success level with having these meetings and approaching it on that level of, we can offer the extra training, which ultimately enhances everyone's experience in positive behavior intervention support. So I think that that's where they're really targeting their efforts in terms of explaining the benefit of what we can teach everyone, in addition to the way that they already run things with the IEP process and social emotional learning specialists, school psychologists. There's an entire team approach, but we really lean on the side of kind of teaching classroom-based positive reinforcement, really simple things. And we kind of try to encourage the staff to look at what we can bring to the table. We don't need to be there long term, but I can tell you that in Florida, we've had a lot of success with those types of conversations. And I think it might just be like a movement we're seeing nationwide in terms of recognizing what the needs are to support learners with autism in the classroom, instead of reacting all of the time. We're coming in and saying, we can teach you a few skills that can help you to prevent many of these challenges.
Yeah, I like that. I really do like that a lot because, you know, the statistics like you shared, Jordan, you said that it might need to be updated. Actually, I found in my research that they only update those statistics every 2 years. And so these are the last ones that came out. So the next ones that we're going to see will be in 2022, and it'll be based on 2018 to 2020.
Gotcha.
So that's just really interesting. And if you think about it, that's statistics on 8-year-olds. What about the babies that are younger than 8 and the individuals that are older than 8? We don't even know. So we definitely need services like yours, Heather, in the schools, because we know that these teachers are just overworked and underpaid. And you know, they have so many students, and oh my goodness, they can't even get to all the kids. And if they do, they're getting what, maybe 15 minutes a week or a day or whatever it is. That's not a whole lot. So thank you again.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'm hoping we can make more of a movement in Arizona. I started just with reaching families who need home-based support, but now that we're finally going to be back in session in the fall, I thought that'd be my time to really call for some of those meetings, because I've had enough conversations with teachers and kind of interviewed, like, what are your true challenges? And I mean, there's nothing like speaking to them directly and learning where they feel they lack the support, especially with professional development, and where they feel they'd like to get the training. So it's all that prevention piece. I mean, you can do so much to arrange the environment for a student to gain success that's going to reliably reduce those challenges by like a solid 80%. So we're really trying to advocate for that movement, and I will have to keep everyone posted, because I hope I can do so.
Well, and I think that's wonderful, and a lot to your point. To bring it back to a couple things here, you know, what you're kind of referring to, in far as like just putting simple things in place that help prevent a lot of behaviors. I remember some of the work that we did in the schools was for, you know, a child who had very severe symptoms of ADHD and would cause a lot of classroom disruption. You know, we could time it to the point where it's going to happen every 6 minutes unless something, you know, is kind of in place to help alleviate that. And something as simple as having this child be the classroom helper and be designated for this type of thing, right? It's a simple tool that works, but sometimes you need an outside pair of eyes too to come in and be able to see those things. And that's something that I think a lot of people in the education field would gladly admit, is that sometimes having that, you know, objective lens on things just to really see how things play out, it can be incredibly helpful to have, you know, a third party service come in like what you guys provide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and then, and Bernadette, and what you're saying too, so I want to give Heather even more credit. So Heather has a really fantastic credential as a BCBA. And, you know, as you'd mentioned, Bernadette, that, you know, there's oftentimes a school psychologist and things like that, but the clinical training that goes into being either, you know, a school counselor or a psychologist is oftentimes very different than what someone might go through for their BCBA certification, like with Heather did. So Heather, would you mind sharing what does a person have to do to become a BCBA, just so we can all be aware?
Oh, absolutely. So we, gosh, it's changed quite a bit, because they're, you know, nationally, we're being recognized more in terms of the support we can provide. But really, it's hands-on behavior modification through being essentially an expert in learning and behavior. So I think you make a good point of like, what's the competence of a school psychologist versus us, and that person's really talented in the scope of assessment for potential learning disabilities. And we are really talented in, okay, so those learning disabilities and the deficits that are experienced through them, again, you're going to have those behavioral excesses. That's where we come in. So I personally like to collaborate. I'm very good at that with the speech therapists on staff at the school, the occupational therapists, the school psychologists. You have to work hard at that sometimes, but we all can work together to create this comprehensive treatment package, because there's a lot of overlap between what we do, but we all have also like this very objective scope that is specific to our certifications that we can use to really enhance the experience for that student and create that success. So I'm going into the classroom, the teacher might say, he is flipping chairs. I'm identifying why that's happening, and I am giving that student replacement skills to then make those challenging behaviors inefficient and ineffective, because they've got alternative skills, such as asking for a temporary relief from a challenging task, such as a break, to replace the need to get up and throw chairs because you want a break. So like, we are that very objective behavior modification lens that it's essentially, you gain your master's degree and you learn a whole lot about human behavior and the principles of learning. And you have a very intensive period in which, when you're done with school or while you're in school, you are accruing several hours working with children and adults with developmental disabilities, specifically with autism spectrum disorder, to understand not only autism, but behavior modification. And it's quite an intensive process. We have quite an intensive exam, but I would say that the expertise we have in human behavior as a whole is valuable on absolutely every level. We can kind of, if we can learn how to, turn a behavior on and off, we know what maintains it, we can reliably reduce it. So it's all about, the reduction of those harmful behaviors and the increase in those appropriate behaviors.
Absolutely. Well, so what I'm hearing here, everybody, is that, not only can she help out in, with, if you have a family member with autism, but if you have a spouse that has a behavior you'd like to get rid of, he can probably help you out a little bit and give you some tips, maybe. I don't know. No,
yes.
by all means.
I love that. Yep, it's so true. Like, you almost can't help yourself but think, oh my gosh, I need to change all these behaviors.
Well, thank you so much again for sharing. And I know you have your contact info up there. We'll be happy to share that as well with everybody, just to make sure everyone has it. I'll go ahead and do another share screen here quick and round out just the last parts of our presentation for everybody. So thank you again, Heather, for being our guest spotlight this month. It's delightful to hear more about your program, and I'm looking forward to further connecting with you and seeing how we can partner between.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Perfect. So can you guys see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I saw a nod. We were good. So with that, guys, we talked a lot about the different things that are with that. Trust, I want to just circle back to really quick, having compassion for one another, really understanding where everyone's coming from. I think we've highlighted on that a lot, but also having trust. So in bringing in community partners, there is a wide variety of resources that are out there. In fact, the expo that we met at, there was 70 providers at. And I have to say, when I walked in there and when it filled up, I got very overwhelmed. I was like, I don't know what's happening. And I've been in this field for a while. So it's pretty overwhelming sometimes. And so really, when you're trying to figure out what that map and that road looks like by yourself, it really can be intimidating. And so having trust in this, having trust in Sounds of Autism, becoming a partner, becoming a responder united to make a difference, you now have an ability to help other families. So again, it could be someone that you don't know very well. It could be a coworker. It could be someone you meet in the future that they say, oh, I actually just found out my son or daughter, they're diagnosed with autism, and I really don't know anything about it. Step one is invite them to a meeting like this, get them more involved, meet other folks, and then learn about the different resources that are here. So I encourage you guys all to attend the additional meetings that happen each month. If you aren't on an email list for that, I know Bernadette can easily get you on there as well. But what are some ways that you can do to help out as a responder? So a responder is simple. It's someone who's willing to unconditionally support the autism community. And that's just helping families feel comfortable in social settings, offer safe solutions and resources to support the autism community, and act quickly in response to a situation, especially during a crisis. I know that Cricket has shot out an email to our email distribution list when a crisis has occurred, and we have seen a very rapid response of support for somebody within a matter of less than an hour. So it's about that community really coming together. So thank you guys for joining us here today. Again, Sounds of Autism, there's a few different ways that you can get involved. One of which is to engage with us on Facebook, Sounds of Autism Nonprofit 501c3 organization. That's what you need to search. It's the nice short phrase there. And then in addition to that, I saw, and I don't think Heather pumped it up enough, Aurora follows PBS on Instagram, and it's pretty cool. So you should probably go and search them on Facebook and Instagram too.
Yes, we are there.
Pretty great. So make sure you're searching for that. And then there is a Facebook group as well where you can share things with other families, and that's Autism Families Unite. A lot of resources that go into there. You can always check out on the website. We'll have recordings up there, as well as on the YouTube page for soundsofautism.org. If you want to get on the email list, if you're not on one so far, just email at info@soundsofautism.org. We'll make sure that you are aware of all future and upcoming presentations. And then there is my contact information for you guys as well. Like I said, I've mostly worked in a professional setting in the autism community, but I have a little bit of experience here in the Arizona realm for the past decade. And if there's some questions that I can help or be a navigator, that is what I am happy to do. So with that, I'll do a stop share and I will keep this going. Does anyone have any questions, comments, fun facts about life? Anything else they'd like to share?
I just want to say thank you again, Heather. I look forward to connecting with you and meeting you virtually,
absolutely.
in person. So I like what you guys do. I like that it is a little different approach because I know that a lot of different ABA service providers do it from a different perspective, even though, you know, we need all those different types of skills. So I definitely want to learn more about that because I think it's important. And, you know, I know for me with my daughter, our current challenge is getting her work done in class. You know, the goal is to not bring home homework, and she's not doing her classwork. But the challenge I'm having is it's not like I can help her to stay caught up because no one's telling me. I'm not finding out until later. And so I really don't know where you draw the line, like whose responsibility is what, because she's in the 4th grade. And so they need to start taking notes. They need to start writing down their homework assignments. But what do you do if they don't?
Right.
You just let them slip through the cracks, you know, so that's what we're dealing with right now. So I look forward to talking to you.
Oh yeah. And see, yeah, I think, well, one thing I used to do when I was working personally with a lot of families was I would ask the schools. That's just kind of my integrity. Like that's why, you know, I became a BCBA so that I could, you know, go the extra mile to support the families. And, you know, I was working in California at the time, but some of the schools would allow me to come conduct observations and walk them through what I thought would support some of those kind of barriers. So there might be just some barriers there, right? And I think the deficit could be, it's just a little difficult for her. So what supports can we give her to foster that success, especially so that she doesn't fall behind? Because that will be no quality of life. She'll never feel like she can catch up. So it's, you know, it might even be a matter of like the teacher learning how to give her those little pushes of support throughout the day. And just so many things you can do to basically enrich the environment to establish success. And that's what I love about working at PBS is we do take that approach. We have a quality of life questionnaire that when we, upon an intake meeting with a new family, and it is built around those 5 domains. We are asking a family a whole host of questions about how their loved one within all of those domains has success. And if we consider one of those domains to be a strong deficit, what we then do is we work really hard to develop all of our treatment goals surrounding the need for their success in, let's say, self-advocacy, safety skills in the community. If there are low scores, like if someone tells me, well, we can't go out in public because he or she really struggles to stay nearby or they wander, I'm saying we're going to work on that first and foremost. That's a safety skill. That's a skill he or she needs for the rest of their life. So we approach treatment differently. We approach treatment in terms of what is needed for success day to day. Not more like of the prescription, you know. I think we dig a little deeper for what's needed, right? Because if your son or daughter then achieves success and is able to stay by you in the community and maintain safety, that's going to improve your life too. significantly. So we're working with the family unit as a whole. And, you know, if it's extreme interfering behaviors that are occurring all day, we're working with the family on the level of how are we going to alleviate that so that everybody can have a smooth day, because that contributes to a lot of things. Then you get frustrated, then it just all spirals out of control. But if there's more success, you can have a dinner and a happy conversation, routines are in place. It just is, it's wonderful. So same thing applies for school. But again, I think that that's really what sets us apart in terms of providers, is that we really value that quality of life component. Yeah, and another thing too that I always harp on is we're asking our families, I don't think people ask this enough, but my staff will sit down and say, what's priority to you as the parent? What would you really like to see your child succeed with, or your teenager? You know, if we're working with the teenagers that are minimally impacted and just need some social skill support, we're talking with them about what they want out of life too. So we're giving them that buy-in that they entirely deserve, and we get so much more out of treatment with that approach. So
Sounds like it.
yeah. Like if a parent says to me, well, you know, we just really want success with our bedtime routine because it's just so hard for me, like it's a really challenging part of our day, then I'm actually developing a parent goal for the parents surrounding that, because they've told me that they want improvement with that. So we start there. We support them starting there. So we really, you know, we go the extra mile to improve that family unit.
I love that. That's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. So it would be my pleasure. I will stay in touch with you guys. If you ever want me to come back in, I'll have to update you on the schools, of course. I've been working really hard just to get our name out in the community since the first of the year. And I'm so excited. I've been getting so many calls from families in need who've been like on wait lists for a very long time. Like it nearly brings me to tears. So I'm so excited when I get to say, yes, we're going to be there. We're going to start services. So I've started with like the in-home, and when we get back to school, I'm really going to target some of these districts and see if they'd be open to just kind of having us come in and support on a broader level of school-wide positive behavior support. We'll see.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for being our spotlight here this month. It's so great to, and I know we haven't known each other very long here, but it's so great just to get to know you a little bit more and what brought you into this and the work you guys are doing. So thank you again.
You got it, Jordan. And if anyone has questions, you have my email on there. I'll send you the PowerPoint. And please feel free to disperse. I've got a cool flyer too. So if anyone has questions, reach out to me. I'm here. So anyways, thank you guys again, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Well, and with that, folks, I do want to be mindful of everybody's time. We're just coming up on the hour here in a few moments. So if anyone would like to hang around or speak about anything else, I'll leave it open here for a few minutes. But otherwise, we'll probably look to wrap up the Zoom at 6 o'clock.
I want to ask Miss Jana. Jana, how did you hear about us?
Honestly, I got an email that said that I need to join from work, and they're just like, you need to join this conversation tonight. And I was like, okay.
Awesome.
Where's that?
Do you mind if I ask where you work at? Because we have a vast email list, and I'm just curious because I know a lot of people forward the information.
I work for a family involvement center.
Okay, that would make sense. Yes.
And I'm a direct support worker. I do light care coordination duties. And I also do the Arizona resilience and emotional support, a whole bunch of other little like administration duties as well. So
Well, thank you for what you do.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us today.
thanks.
Yeah. Glad you got to check out the program.
Yeah, I will actually, you can visit our website, and our calendar of events is updated now. So you can see when we have our different topics that we'll be discussing about. And thank you, Mr. Jordan. You always do such an incredible job. Don't tell anybody when you mess up because they'll never know the difference because you
I
do
always
such a good
admit it when
job.
I mess up. You guys already saw it. I'm happy to let everyone know when I mess up. And Bernadette, when is the next presentation for
The
us?
next presentation is going to be, I don't think we're going to be doing one next week because Cricket is out of town. Cricket usually does the Responders Unite on the third Tuesday of the month, and she is in Chicago right now. But I am excited to share that we're getting ready to present in front of, I think it's a surprise chamber. So we're very excited about that. And we've been working with a number of police departments to bring our Safe Solutions crisis intervention, to make sure that everyone's on the same page and make sure that, it's not just raising awareness in the police departments, but it's also with families. Because if we don't train our children how to respond to police, it's just going to be a mess, and we're going to have an escalated situation that could otherwise have been de-escalated without a problem. So it's really the whole community being aware of what autism looks like, and how to support those families. So we have a lot going on right now. So we're very, very excited about it. And in fact, our 2021 initiative that we started in January, we were hoping to reach 12 West Valley cities by June, and we actually have reached 11 of them. In fact, we've reached all of them, but 11 of them are on board. So that was done early. So now we're getting ready to move to the East Valley. So that's very exciting for us. So keep up with us on Facebook, and that way you'll know what's going on and how we can continue to support you.
Absolutely. And Melody, I see you uncovered your camera. Hello. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Melody's been following us for a while.
Yes, I feel like I'm an honorary original member, and I've been on the camera all day, you guys. So I just got a moment to just go off for a few minutes. But I have an adult daughter with autism, and I have a granddaughter who is 10, going to be 11. And she really struggles in school, and so anything that I
We're having a hard time hearing you, Melody. I don't know if it's just me.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Think so.
I'm closer to my speaker of my computer, so I had my headset, but I took it off. So, but anything I can pick up, to help my granddaughter in school, and as she's trying to figure all of this out, is always so helpful. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining.
Yes. I also want to ask, I see Elaine here and Laura, but I don't see like an email or anything. I don't know if you're a family or maybe a service provider. I don't know if you want to share your video or just share how you heard about us. You can even type it in the chat box if you'd like. But I would really love to know how you came to join us tonight.
Hi, I'm Laura. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually was given forwarded this information from my aunt, and she lives in Arizona. I actually live in Minnesota.
Oh.
Her name is Kim Thullum. And I'm not sure where she found it, but my son actually has scattered skills autism. So he's really high functioning and extremely low to non-functioning on both ends. And we've been really struggling. And so she thought this could really help and give me another resource. And so that's why I actually, unfortunately, wasn't able to join earlier, because we had a pretty massive meltdown tonight, and I had to cradle him and soothe him to sleep early. So yeah, so I guess perfect time to try to join an autism meeting is when your son's having a 2-hour meltdown.
Well, we completely understand. We totally get it. How old did you say your son is?
He's 4. So
Bitty.
yeah, he got diagnosed at 3. So we're kind of just starting our journey. He has a lot of things going on. He has severe ADHD, autism, obviously, and then lots of other things that are under that umbrella.
Where did you say you live again? In
We
what
live
state?
in Minnesota.
Okay. Yeah, we actually are going to be going, we will be national. We're already international, actually. We have people that contact us from Russia, and we recently had our best practices taken to a early intervention institute in Russia, which is really exciting for us. But we're going to be going into, we're not only moving across Arizona to the East Valley, but we'll be going into Chicago before the end of the year. And we actually have some satellite ambassadors in Nevada as well as Connecticut. So this is very exciting to us to be expanding. So we're growing fast. So please let us know how we can support you. And again, check out our website for our different presentations, workshop presentations that we provide.
Yeah,
We'd love to
I
have you join us
definitely
again.
would like to look more into it. So especially since I didn't get the benefit of reaching or hearing them a lot of the meetings. So
Jordan recorded this, so just so you know, these recordings are posted to our YouTube channel. So
wonderful.
You can go to our YouTube channel, so it should be up in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank
And
you.
Elaine, thanks for joining us. She is one of our outpatient therapists over in Glendale. So I was glad to see her join. Awesome, folks. Well, it is just past the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting for the evening. But thank you again so much for joining us. Hope that we'll see you next month at the same presentation. I'm hoping to line up a fun speaker for you all. And otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your week. And hopefully May doesn't go by as fast as it's already been going by. Hopefully it slows down a little bit. Lets us enjoy, a little bit more of that, only start of summer weather. So.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye, everyone.